sheep is? On the left. And which one's the goat? The ones with the horns. Now, in the Bible, they call Jesus the Good Shepherd. What does a shepherd take care of? Goats? Sheep. The Good Shepherd. Now, goats are kind of stubborn, the ones with the horns. Sheep are a little bit more passive. Sheep and goat were neighbors. They both lived on a farm. They were different. Sheep was always thinking of others. Goat seemed to be thinking of himself. As we go through this, think of people you might know about this. Sheep tried very hard to get along with goat, to show goat some love, and to live like Jesus. So that goat would want to get to know Jesus too. So one day, they took a special trip. Now before we go ahead, where do you think you're going? On a what? They're getting on a train. They're going far away. Let's do the next slide, please. One day, sheep and goat took a big trip to the big city. To visit the mega ice cream parlor. It was a trip they had planned for many weeks. During that time, they worked very hard to earn money for the trip. They worked very hard for their money. Finally, they boarded the train and began their long journey. Oh, the sights. I think that's Ellington. During their train trip, they passed homes, businesses, a river, some lakes, and a big forest. They even passed a farm where cows were grazing on the grass. The trip was long. They had time to talk and think. Sheep took time to read his Bible. Along the way, sheep kept thinking about God's awesome creation. Look at all those beautiful things out there. Uh-oh, what's goat doing? The Bible? No, he didn't. No, he kept listening to his music and reading his comic book. He was determined not to let 1 second of the trip escape him. He would make sure they fun every moment of the trip. Ooh, that was the Addy saw. They served the biggest ice cream cone in the world. Can you imagine seeing that going to the big city? Woo! Excellent. Well, if goat was thinking about anything, it was a mega ice cream parlor. The newspaper ad said this: they serve the smallest cones in the world. The what? The biggest cones in the world. And they had a video game arcade. Goat just couldn't wait to get there. Ooh, look at that. There's the big city. Hong Kong. Ooh. Well, sheep and goat arrived in the city. They had to make their way out of the train. Through the train station onto the city streets. The city was so different than home. What don't they have on the ground there? Grass. What do they have on the ground there? Cement, cigarette butts. So many people were rushing around. Goat was in a rush too. Where do you think he was going? Where was Goat going? Because he had to get to the ice cream parlor real fast. Oh, but there comes sheep helping a lady. He was interested in the people around him. Does Jesus want us to be concerned about the people around us? Yes, he does. He saw an older woman who was struggling to carry her bags. Sheep offered to carry them for her. At first, she refused. Sheep's help. Why would you trying to help someone, the person say, I don't need your help? They don't know you, so that means they don't trust you. And trust has to do with the truth, doesn't it? Do people rip off people all the time?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But she picked up her bags and took them to the taxi stand where she could get a ride to her home. She did. Where was Goat going? Ice cream parlor. And now Goat had gone far ahead. On all of his hurrying, he nearly ran over a young woman with a baby. But he did get where he was going well before she. He was finally at the mega ice cream parlor they read about in the newspaper. He had rushed so much he was now very hot and hungry. Ooh. She tried to catch up with Goat, but he got distracted by a little girl who was so thin. He didn't want to stare. She didn't look so good, did she? Even after Sheep reached his ice cream parlor, he couldn't stop thinking about that girl. Did you ever see something so disturbing to you that like later on you're going like, wow. You know what I mean? So he saw that girl. And all he could think about was her. Well, stop thinking about her, they started thinking about the ice cream. Because inside the parlor, Goat had already ordered a huge triple scoop black raspberry waffle cone. What is it, everybody? A huge triple scoop black raspberry waffle cone. Because everyone knows you can't get enough of black raspberry for Goat. By now, Goat was hard at licking that cone. He was eating so fast, as if he thought it would melt before he could finish it. It was the biggest cone Sheep had ever seen. Now it was Sheep's turn to order his cone. Sheep looked at the menu board. He decided between the Cherry Jubilee or the Monster Mash. What would you go with, Monster Mash or Cherry Jubilee? What did he decide? Suddenly, he thought about the little girl. He ordered a cherry jubilee cone, a big one. Why would he think about her and still order a cone? Where do you think this is going? To throw at her? Let's see what happens next. As soon as he got his hands on that cone, he rushed back outside to look for the girl. He quickly found her and gave her his cone. You should have seen the look on her. She was so happy. The girl began running towards the ice cream parlor, but then she turned into the driveway that was between two big... She ran the other way. She ran between two big buildings. I wonder why. Look at that look on her face. She started back towards the ice cream parlor, but he looked down the driveway where the girl had gone. He noticed that she was now sitting next to two other children. She was sharing her cone with her brother and her sister. She didn't look too good, did she? So she shared with her. Who did she share with? Brother and sister. They all seemed so happy. The only thing was they were all so... Behind the children stood two adults. They must have been their parents. They were thin too. Clothes were torn. She thought they were probably homeless people. He had learned about homeless people in Sunday school. Figured they must have been hungry. That's why the little girl rushed to share her cone with her little brother and sister. Does Mom look completely happy now? Oh, look there. Oh, who's that again? Go. Chief continued past them until he got to the ice cream parlor. By that time, Goat was busy playing video games. It cost $1.50 a game. Goat had already played 8 games and was still at it. Goat challenged Sheep to a match. She goes, "You will never beat me. I'm an expert." Sheep thought Goat should be an expert. After all, he had played 8 games already. Sheep would have loved to join Goat for just 1 game, but he was thinking about hungry man. It's hard to get that out of your mind after a while, isn't it? Sheep remembered there was a grocery store across the street from the driveway between the two buildings. Thank Goat for the challenge. But then he said he wanted to check out. Now, is Goat going to do, or is, he thinks Goat, is Sheep going to do what Goat wants him to do? No. But he thanked Goat for the challenge. So in other words, when people irritate you or do the wrong thing, should you still be nice to them? People were mean to Jesus, and he still loved them. Loves all of us. But he thanked him for the challenge. He wanted to shop at the grocery store. He knew that he couldn't stand wasting quarters because there was a family that probably hadn't eaten in a while. Even though Sheep loved video games, he knew he had to get the family some food instead. Enters the grocery store. Now, he's thinking about all that money he could have spent back there. What's he going to do? Goat laughed at Sheep. You've come a long way to the big city, and all the time you waited, and after all the work you did to save the money for this trip, you're now going to go to the grocery store, said Goat. He then said to them that you're nuts. Don't ever call a goat a nut either, okay? Well, he used his money to get some apples, some food. Sheep couldn't tell Goat why, but he followed through with his plan. He took the money he had saved and went into the store. Went down one aisle after another. He got bread, milk, peanut butter, jelly. Finally, the biggest apples he'd ever seen. He got his favorite soda, Blue Goo Canoe. Do you guys like that? I love that. Yeah, I think they made it up. Anyway, Sheep paid for all he bought. It cost only $15. That was about all the money that Sheep had saved for his trip. Sheep felt happy. He knew the young family needed the food more than they needed to play arcade games. Sheep went across the street and gave the family a bag of groceries. They were slightly happy. They were very happy. Ooh, look at that. Sheep said goodbye, went back to the ice cream parlor. Goat had finished his 15th game by now. He ordered another ice cream and finished a big soda. Excuse me. Well, kind of a place when you're in the big city, I guess. Well, they got ready to leave. Goat asked Sheep what he'd been doing for so long. Sheep said, he's trying to be like Jesus. Once again, Goat laughed at Sheep. You didn't waste your whole day doing something for some stranger, did you? He asked. As they were leaving for home, Sheep explained, Jesus said, whenever we care for someone who needs help, we care for him. Do you guys understand? Look at that sentence again. Jesus said, whenever we care for someone who needs help, we care for him. Who's him? Jesus. Remember that, because we're going to talk about that in a second. Whenever we feed someone, it's like we feed Jesus himself. Sheep told goat that goat should start thinking of others too, not just about himself. Does anyone know what that represents? Dancing on golden streets. Let's see what that means. After all, sheep explained, Jesus will come back someday looking to take us to heaven with him. When he does, he's going to see if we love him. And the way he'll know if we really loved him is if we loved others like he loved us. Jesus loved us so much, he gave his life for us on the cross. Who said that? He gave his life on the cross. He did it to forgive our sins so that we could live with him someday. If we accept Jesus and the love he has for us and love him with some of our hearts. All. You know what? They studied the ancient manuscripts to understand what the word all was, how it's translated. Guess what it meant in ancient languages? All. And love him with all of our hearts. We can live in heaven with him forever. Heaven will be even better than ice cream parlors and video games. It's a place filled with streets of gold and nothing but joy. Oh, there they are. Oh, pig, what's he doing in here? Wait a second, who's that guy? Well, the sheep and goat arrived home from the exciting trip. The sheep went exactly immediately to see his friend. Oh, pig, thank you. Pig, never. He called to tell Pig everything about his trip. Pig is a very good and godly friend of sheep. He loves to study the Bible with Pig, and Pig encourages sheep to live more like Jesus. In fact, sheep calls Pig his partner in godliness. Sheep is always saying everybody needs Pig. Is there a pig in your life? If not, my wife says there is. Anyway, if not, maybe there should be. Maybe you should be a pig to someone too. The Bible says we don't conform to be like everyone else. Instead, we must be transformed to live like. That's where all the joy is, which means we need to be more loving like sheep and not selfish like goat. The idea for sheep and goat is found in the Bible in Matthew 25. What does that mean, 31 through 46? Does anyone know? Those are the verses, and we're going to read that right now. Is Tim here? No? Okay. Tim's in Maryland? Well, he's not going to get here in time for this. Let's go to the verses there, please, David. Don't get ahead of this for a second. You remember when, oh no, we had it for the adults only, when David J. was here, and he's been here at Rock before. David Blaney has a ministry where he goes to Africa. Would that be neat to help people there? Yes. Some people go to Haiti. Some people are helping up in Springfield, Massachusetts, or Munson, or Broomfield, where the tornado came. Does Jesus want you to help others? Does he want you to move to Africa right now to do that? Some people, right? Some people do. But the whole story about that was a parable about another parable. Because this is what Jesus was saying. This is what we can do. When the Son of Man comes in his glory, that means Jesus, and all the angels are with him, he will sit on his throne in heavenly glory. Picture this. The day that all of civilization meets Jesus for all time. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate the people one from another as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. He will put the sheep on his right, the goats on his left. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, who are blessed by the Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world." Are those a bunch of big words? What that means is when we get to heaven, God is going to separate us. Oh, you go over here, you go over here. And to these he's going to say, "When I was hungry, you gave me something to eat. When I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. When I was a stranger, you invited me in. I needed clothes and you clothed me. I was sick and you looked after me. I was in prison and you came to visit me." So we get to heaven someday, and Jesus said, "I'm going to take you into heaven because you did those things for me." What are you going to say? "I don't remember doing that," right? And that's what the righteous will say. "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger? When did we see you in sick or in prison and visit you?" And the king, and who's the king? Jesus, King Jesus. "I tell you the truth." Whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers of mine, you did for me. Is that a great story?
Yes.
Do you like happy endings? What if there's some verses after that? Are there, David? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Then he will say those two on his left, the goats. Depart from me, you who are cursed, eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. Because when I was hungry, you gave me nothing to eat. When I was thirsty, you gave me nothing to drink. When I was a stranger, you did not invite me in. I needed clothes, you did not clothe me. I was sick and in prison, you did not look after me. And they'll say, Lord, when did we see this? And he replied again, I tell you that whenever you did not do for one of the least of these, you did not do for me. Wow, eternal punishment. Guys, I'm telling you the truth, and not because I said this. Jesus says it all through the Bible. It said in the Old Testament and the New Testament. Would you guys like us to lie to you here and say, oh, everything's perfectly fine, and we'll just give you sugar candies and all that, and you can eat all the chunky cake and terrible sugary stuff and you'll be fine?
Yeah.
No, that wouldn't be the truth. But you know what? If you lose your teeth because you ate all the sugary things, would that be pretty bad, losing all your teeth? Yeah. If you fooled around and you fell off a ladder and you broke your leg, would that be pretty bad? Do those things hurt for a while? Oh, they do, they do. But what does the word eternal mean? Forever, forever. So what God is telling us through Jesus is that take care of your neighbor. Who was it? Remember the story of the Good Samaritan? Good one. Okay. And the big idea of God's idea is love God first and love others. Can you guys do that? Point to God and point to others. What does that form?
A cross.
It forms a cross. And that's where it all comes together right there. So guys, this was our last lesson here at the Rock Church for this year. And we saved it for the end. And it's one of the most important lessons because it's eternal. You think someone agrees? I think he does too. Okay. I make fun of this.